Good morning, and welcome to the UP Pregame Show. I'm Casey Ford. I'd like to thank our sponsors first and foremost. I didn't get enough of them in last week, but you know who they are. It's Fox Motors, as you can come see me at Fox Nagani. Also the 906 Sports Bar, the official home of the UP Pregame Show, and Big Boy. I'd like to thank Steve and Kurt and obviously Randy Norton for jumping on board with this UP Pregame Show and letting me try to give you information as you go into the games this afternoon and later this evening as the Detroit Lions take on the Tennessee Titans. The Lions trying to get to 2-0 and hopefully get Tennessee to 0-2. And then you have the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Green Bay Packers. This one will open up U.S. Bank Stadium in Minnesota. Now, there's a couple things that are going on with this show. Next week, we'll promote this a little bit more too, but next week, the 25th, we'll have a live watch party at the 906 as the Detroit Lions take on the Green Bay Packers. There'll be prizes given away during this event. There's going to be a Green Bay Packer jersey that I will give away, and your Upper Michigan source has given away some prize packages as well. So those are some of the things that it's going to take place next week, the 25th. So please join me. Make sure you find me on Twitter. You can find me Real Casey Ford. Got a lot of jokes made about that, by the way. It's Real Casey Ford on Twitter, Casey with a C. And then you can find me on Facebook as well. I'm just Casey Ford. My page is always open. But I do tweet during the games, as most of you saw during the Lions and Colts game from week 1. We'll talk Lions, we'll talk Packers. But make sure you set your calendars. September 25th, the 906 Sports Bars. We have a Lions, Packers watch party. And make sure you get some of their delicious food, including a salad. We're going to take this quick time out. When we come back, we're going to talk to UP native Rob Rubik about this Detroit Lions football team. You are watching the UP Pregame Show presented by Fox Motors.
I finally got a date with the girl of my dreams. Probably because I've been hitting the gym. Got some serious gains. Maybe the new do. I don't know. I did shave that sweet mustache. Should probably grow that back.
I like him a lot, but I love his car.
It's the summer clearance event going on now.
Fox Nagani, experience the difference.
What sounds good? What do you think about the Slim Jim and fries? Ooh, let's do seafood. The fish and chips is my favorite. I know, I'll just skip dinner and get a piece of their hot fudge cake. Boy, you're a big help.
Value never goes out of style at Big Boy.
Big Boy Marquette, food worth talking about.
Welcome back to the UP Pregame Show powered by Rome Media. I'm Casey Ford. Joining me now is a former Detroit Lion. He's a Newberry native, and he also does some color analyst after the game. Mr. Rob Rubik joins me right here on the Big Boy Hotline. And Rob, how good should Lions Nation feel today as they got a victory against Indianapolis last week in Week 1?
Really, really good. They won. It's hard to win in the NFL. Ask Packer Nation. They were, one play away from losing the game against Jacksonville, the lowly Jacksonville. It's a league of parity, Casey. It's hard to win. I don't care if teams are beat up or depleted. When you go on the road and you can win in the NFL, it's a very successful day. And Packer Nation should be happy they got a win, and Lion Nation should be just as happy.
The Lions' offensive line was able to block. They were able to keep Matthew Stafford on his feet. Give a grade. How good was this Lions' offensive line in Week 1 against Indianapolis?
I would give them probably overall about a B. I still think there's maybe that might even be a little high. They kept him on his feet, but let's remember, they really used the quick passing game. You saw a lot of little hitches, little bubbles, little quick slants, little crossing routes to the running backs. They didn't really go vertical that much, so that takes a lot of the burden off, and Matthew did a great job of getting the ball out, getting his reads quick. I thought Indy's line actually protected in the pass game much better than Detroit's. Indy only had one sack. Detroit got two on them, but those were both by Kerry Hyder in a matter of two series. But the rest of the game, if you think about it, Casey, how many times was Luck forced to leave the pocket? Maybe twice the rest of the game. And you let someone like Andrew Luck just stand back there with fast receivers, your secondary is going to get carved up, and he did. So that's a concern. You know, Ziggy's got to show up. Devin Taylor's got to show up. Brandon Copeland, whoever they put in there, they have to get some outside pressure. So that being said, that's a concern. Good news is, let's get back to that offensive line. There were some holes for the running game, not huge holes. I thought Abdullah did a nice job of really pressing them and getting through. And Theo's got a little bit of that Barry in him. You know, he's got that little jump shot, little shake, and he's just a really, really good receiver. He runs good routes, and he catches the ball in his hands, and he can get yak yards. So he's they did some good things. And I think the offensive line will get better, but I'm not sure that was the biggest challenge they're going to face. Obviously, when they get to see Minnesota, though, we'll find out how good they are.
Theo Riddick was rewarded with a new contract this offseason. He's always been a decent back in this league, Rob. But is he on cloud nine going into this afternoon's game against the Tennessee Titans?
He's a decent running back, maybe at best, but he's the best in the NFL, and I would not trade him for anyone out of the backfield. You can take your Darren Sproles, you can take your Danny Woodheads. I would not trade Theo Riddick for anyone in the passing game. Now, let's forget, he's a converted wideout. He was a wideout at Notre Dame, and they moved him to running back, and Golden Tate was a running back at Notre Dame who they moved to wideout. So Theo it's just a really good route runner. I mean, he is a nightmare for any linebacker or safety to try to cover. I think he's as good as there is. So I think the Lions were very smart in signing him. Do I want him as my every down back, never leaving the game? No, that's not his makeup. But he's more than just a decent back case. He's a really good weapon to have, because when you go in those nickel situations, you got 3 or 4 wideouts, and then all of a sudden, if they're not going to bring pressure and you can loop him out in the passing game, he's going to be open. He's uncoverable. He's shown that the past 2 years.
UP native Rob Rubick joins me right here on the Big Boy Hotline, presented by Fox Motors. And Rob, the final drive against Indianapolis, a lot of people thought the Lions were going to be the Lions. They took the lead, 34-28. They fell behind, 35-34. During that last drive where they're able to get into field goal range, the Lions were being the Lions, as a lot of Lions fans know. Eric Ebron didn't get out of bounds. You have Marvin Jones that didn't get out of bounds. Rob, in your opinion, how much smarter does this team have to be?
And Marvin's, I think, more so than Ebron. Ebron, there was still quite a bit of time left, and you're trying to move yards, and the Lions had timeouts, I believe, when Ebron didn't get out of bounds. There's certain situations you want to try to get every yard, and you don't know what they're going to tell the players. They may tell them, listen, if you think you can pop it inside, we got the timeouts, get as much as you can. Marvin's situation, get outside, get out of bounds, Marvin. You need to do it. You know, it forced the Lions into burning a timeout, and I was surprised they ran a play. And if you watch the post-game show on Fox Sports Detroit, Casey, that comes on right after the Lions, you have to turn the dial. Well, if you turn to Fox Sports, I do a co-host with Matt Shepard, and we do a Lions post-game show, and we talked about the fact that Jim Caldwell actually ran that one more play with 12 seconds. And what if one of those guys gets a holding call? I know his thinking was he probably just wanted to get another 5 yards if he could. But you don't get greedy. Prater had more than enough. A dude can make it from 65. Now, he's got to hit it straight, and he's money. So I was a little bit surprised they did that. I thought they were just with 12 seconds. But I did also like the idea that they kicked off and made him return it. That's not a big issue, guys not getting out of bounds. That's a very easily correctable mistake.
Many years ago, Calvin Johnson didn't complete the process against Chicago. In the playoffs, Des Bryant didn't complete the process against the Green Bay Packers. At the end of the first half, the Indianapolis Colts apparently completed the process that led to a scoring drive. In your opinion, does the NFL really know what a catch is?
I agree. To me and to you, you knew that was a catch. But according to the NFL, I'm not sure that it met the rule, but it looked like he was trying to get back up, that he had spun and was getting up. So they said he completed the process of the catch. After he got touched, it came out in his next move. And let's just look at it and say, okay, that's a catch. Let's use common sense. We'll call it the common sense rule, Casey. You and I will patent it. And we'll get a number in the NFL rule book. It's called the common sense. That was a catch? Yeah, he caught it. But look at it. He caught the ball. I don't care what happened after it was a catch.
Before last week's game against the Colts, a lot of people thought the Lions would start the season 0-1. They're now 1-0, a chance to go 2-0 against the Tennessee Titans. What must the Lions do to prepare against a young but yet mobile quarterback in Marcus Mariota?
Yeah, well, a very mobile quarterback. People don't realize how mobile Andrew Luck is, but he just didn't have to move. And Marcus Mariota is very mobile as well. What scares me about this Tennessee team is the Lions will not run the ball as easily as they did. Adrian Peterson, with the Vikings, really didn't do much against this Tennessee run defense. He's as good as what's in front of him blocking. So Tennessee's going to defend the run better. That's going to be an issue. And they're going to be better defensively. So the Lions aren't going to be able to hang 39 points. That being said, I think you're going to see marked improvement in this Lions defense. I think the secondary is going to be better. They're going to get at it in the front line. They really tried to cover with 7 against Andrew Luck. They tried to pressure with 4. And if you can pressure with 4, Casey, now we've talked many times, you and I, and you can pressure with 4, you win in the NFL. It's that simple. Because then you can cover with 7. But if you pressure with 4 and you don't get pressure, 3 or 4 receivers will get open. I don't care if you have 7 or if you have 10 people trying to cover them. Because there's enough space. Even with 7 people covering down the field, you can throw your receivers open if you're a quarterback. So you got to pressure with 4, and the Lions really didn't do that, but they didn't turn the ball over on the road. That's one thing you need to do. You end every drive with a kick, you're going to be fine. Whether it's a punt, an extra point, or a field goal, you end every drive with a kick, good chance you're going to win the game.
Rob, you played in this league. The Tennessee Titans have a really good defense. What must the Lions do to make this Tennessee defense more vulnerable?
Well, some people are, run the ball, set up the play action. I used to be throw the ball to set up the run. I think the way this makeup is with the type of receivers they have and with Riddick and with Abdullah, I think you really kind of a little bit of a blend. You use the passing game like a running game. You throw those slip screens, those bubble screens to Tate, to Anquan Bolden, to Marvin, you get Riddick, Abdullah on the edge. And that's kind of like your wide running game, and that will help open up your inside running game as well. I know it's a pass, but it's really just an extension of like a sweep, where you get it out, you have one blocker in front, like the old sweep you used to run with Billy Sims. You toss it to him, you might pull the guard, get him out in front, and so it's really just like that. It just happens quicker because you're getting the ball out to the one guy, another guy's his lead blocker. So I think that's the recipe. Is you got to kind of dink and dunk him on the edge. I thought he had a good, and you don't get Stafford hit. You move the chains a little bit. That opens up the inside game, and now you can open up the outside game again, and now you can open up the vertical outside game as well, because those guys, after you hit them enough with dinks and dunks, they start coming up, and now you go behind them.
UP native from Newberry, Rob Rubick, we really appreciate your time right here on the UP Pregame Show, presented by Fox Motors, powered by Rome Media. We're going to take this quick time out. When we come back, we're going to talk to Tom Pippins from Fox 6 as we talk about the Green Bay Packers kicking off tonight against the Minnesota Vikings on NBC, the first game ever at US Bank Stadium. You're watching the UP Pregame Show.
The UP summer is at its peak. Traditionally, my husband and I like to get out and enjoy some of our favorite sights. But this time, it's different, because this summer, we pass our traditions on.
The all-new 2016 Chevy Silverado. Fox Nagani, experience the difference.
It's game time. Come on up to 906, Marquette's newest sports bar and grill. We are family friendly, and with 12 HD TVs, we have it all. NFL ticket, NHL center ice, and Michigan Lotto games. If the game is on, it's on at the 906 Sports Bar and Grill. Locally owned, serving lunch and dinner daily, along with happy hour specials, and everything is fresh, including our hot wings with homemade sauces. Great service, family-friendly, and a great view. The 906 Sports Bar and Grill. Look for the red awning at 145 West Washington Street, downtown Marquette.
Welcome back to the UP Pregame Show presented by Fox Motors. Now joining me on the Big Boy Hotline, Mr. Tom Pippins from Fox 6. He gets paid to follow these Green Bay Packers along with the Milwaukee Brewers. And Tom, it's a little bit different after week one because the Green Bay fan base isn't calling for Dom Capers' head after week one.
Yeah, how about that, huh? And even with Sam Shields going out and he's under the concussion protocol this week. And by the way, Kay, it's great to be back with you. Done the radio thing and now TV. Very honored to think you do a fantastic job and wish you and your viewers all the very best. But without Sam Shields, concussion protocol this week, you may recall that he missed a few games last year with a concussion. So there's concern there for the best cover corner. But even without him, Dom Capers brought the blitz. He is always aggressive if he's anything at all. And on that 4th and 1 at the Packer 14 with 23 ticks left on the clock and Jacksonville driving for a possible winning touchdown, they made the play. Gang tackle, finish, pursuit, and finish. Mike McCarthy's been talking about that for months. That was the theme throughout training camp, and this defense did show some championship mettle. Now, the coach admits he could have called a better game. There were mistakes he made, communication issues. They didn't play their best, but as you point out, it's tough to go down there. You're in that heat, 100 degrees on the field, and to get a win in the Jaguars' home opener, the season opener, certainly is it bodes well, and they'll have to clean some things up before they get to Minnesota to play the Vikings and help them christen that new U.S. Bank Stadium.
Sam Shields has had a second concussion in 9 months. When you look at Sam Shields, he's been known for this. He also missed some time in 2011 with concussions. How worried is this Green Bay Packers team as an organization about their player Sam Shields? Because Detroit had a player in Javid Best, had a bunch of concussions in college, ended his NFL career. How worried are they about Sam Shields?
Well, they're not saying too much, and they are always tight-lipped. But I have to think behind closed doors they're very concerned because Sam Shields is a terrific player, and obviously, especially today with all the focus on this, the right thing to do is to be as vigilant as possible, if you will, to make sure that no one comes back until he's ready to play. And once you've had one, though, as you're well aware, I mean, you get these recurring, you mentioned Best, I mean, it can be career-ending, and certainly we're not going there at this point, but I'd have to think it's a concern just based on the recent past, and as you point out, he just couldn't get back on the field. His headaches and the blurred vision and what have you apparently were such that they had to be very, very careful. So I know it's disconcerting for Sam, and it certainly has to be for the Packers because he is, without question, their best cover corner. And to overcome his absence would certainly not be easy. So we certainly wish him best first and foremost on a personal level, but that Packers defense needs him.
The Green Bay offense looked off at times against the Jacksonville Jaguars. How potent can this offense be with Eddie Lacy, Jordy Nelson back, Devontae Adams, and of course, number 12, Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I think potentially they can be very potent, as you point out, and you get Jordy Nelson back, and it took a little while. They weren't on sync as many times as 12 and 87 been together, as you're well aware, Casey, and I'm sure the viewers. He didn't take a snap at all after tearing his ACL in a non-contact exhibition game last August. So they took it very, very slow throughout training camp, and then Jordy had the setback with the other leg and maybe compensating or overcompensating. So it will take time, but on the one drive where he caught his first touchdown pass since 2014-15 season, it was really nice to see him catch 3 balls, and you could tell he was starting to do the things that we've known Jordy Nelson to do, and that's why he's one of the very finest receivers in the National Football League. So I think he kind of sets the tone, and then it helps the Randall Cobbs of the world get open. I think Jared Cook, he wasn't much of a factor. He did draw a 30-yard penalty, maybe made one catch. But I think this fella has the chance, this tight end, with Richard Rodgers, a good combo. But he has the opportunity to stretch the field, and that's a commodity the Packers haven't had at tight end since the days of Jermichael Finley before injury ended his career. So I think there's a lot to be excited about. I'd love to see the aforementioned Devontae Adams separate himself from the crowd, and maybe that catch will catapult. Last year, as you're aware, he had injury problems. I think he lost some confidence, plenty of drop balls. There was a ball earlier that Rodgers threw up that was beautiful in tight coverage, but I think 17 probably should have come down with it, and then he makes an amazing diving grab with Devon House, the former Packer DB, all over him, and in fact even holding him, penalized there. So I think there's a lot to be encouraged about. I think Eddie is poised to have a big year. He looked terrific in training camp and limited opportunities, as you're aware. Also, the Packers' offense, number one, didn't play much at all, especially Aaron Rodgers. So it will take time. I think they'll continue to get better week in and week out, and maybe start to approach the standards that we have held in high regard as far as Aaron Rodgers is concerned when he's under center, since he took over as a starter several years ago. Last year was an aberration, but without Jordy Nelson, it obviously handcuffed him.
Tom Pippins from Fox 6 joins me right here on the UP Pregame Show, presented by Fox Motors, powered by Rome Media, on the Big Boy Hotline. And now the Vikings open up this U.S. Bank Stadium against this Green Bay Packer team. What do you see out of this Vikings defense? And offensively, how did they get Adrian Peterson on track?
Yes, that's his first game ever there, as you point out, that beautiful new facility. I have a feeling that the defense is going to make it challenging for Rodgers and company, because as Mike McCarthy said in his Monday news conference, Casey, they know well that Mike Zimmer has a good defense. He's always run a great ship. He cut his teeth on defense just as Mike McCarthy did on offense. And you'll recall that in the Tennessee game, the offense scored nary a point, but they kicked 4 field goals, and the defense scored 2 touchdowns on forced turnovers. So I think you've got to be very concerned with that Vikings defense. And if Bradford were to get the start, I don't know if he's learned enough of the system and what have you to take over, that could make a difference on that side of the ball. And as you say, you've got Adrian Peterson, so he didn't do too much in game 1, but he's certainly one of the very, very best still. And so I expect it may come down to the Packers offense versus the Vikings defense, and there will be a great challenge there. And hopefully the Packers, if they want to go 2-0 in foreign territory, they talk about adversity wins. They got one here, and hopefully they get themselves another before they finally come to Lambeau Field the following week to host the Detroit Lions, and then an early bye week.
How much does this game really benefit the Minnesota Vikings being the home opener and opening up U.S. Bank Stadium against the Green Bay Packers instead of a game against the Packers in the stadium maybe in late November or December?
You know, it's kind of tough to say, because that new facility, as you know, they have the roof and all that, and I just think the fact that they have to play the first one, you point out, Case, that you've got all this emotion going on, and it's a Sunday night game. That definitely is an advantage for the host team. But one, if the Packers are going to try to get to where they hope to go, which is to Houston for Super Bowl 51, they're not going to win every game. I don't know whether they're going to win. To me, I've said people are talking 12, 13 wins. I said, you know what? Let's see if they get to 11 or something like that, or 11 to 12 wins, and the big thing is make the run in the playoffs. So I think the fact that early in the season is nice, but the fact that it's Sunday night and it happens to be they're the first opponent ever in that new facility is going to certainly challenge them. But the bottom line, as you're well aware, it's what you do between the lines. And if Rodgers and company make a couple of the plays that he made in Jacksonville, if they communicate better, there were really bad issues with communication, both on the part of the players and the head coach. And once more, you have to clean this up. The defense gave up to Blake Bortles and company probably a total of 360-some yards. So they were gassed a couple of times, or gashed on long pass plays. They're going to have to avoid that. It'd be interesting to see. I don't know how much you could expect from that Minnesota offense, but it would be a little bit dramatic if all of a sudden Sam Bradford gets his first start and then plays well. We'll see how all that unfolds. I think there are a lot of interesting storylines here heading into this big game.
Tom Pippins from Fox 6 thank you for joining me on the UP pregame show on the Big Boy Hotline.
Well, it's great to be with you, Casey, and again, continued success and very best to you and your viewers, okay?
When we come back, we'll have some final thoughts and talk about the 906 Sports Bar and how we can watch the Packers and Lions together. You're watching the UP pregame show.
During summer, every second counts. We like to plan out those numbered days so that minute by minute and hour by hour we have something to remember. Everywhere you look, you will find fun and beauty. But it's not the budding forests or the serene rivers that make these days so memorable. It's little people that I get to enjoy them with. That's what makes the UP summers one of a kind.
The 2016 Subaru Forester, Fox Marquette, experience the difference.
Restaurants. The trendier they are, the more they charge. At Big Boy, we don't chase the latest trend because we believe value never goes out of style. Whether you order from our menu or enjoy one of our hearty buffets, you'll discover that good food doesn't have to be overpriced. Imagine being able to afford to take your whole family out to dinner. It's not a trend, it's what we do at Big Boy.
Thank you for joining me on the UP pregame show presented by Fox Motors. I want to thank Anna Delaski because without her, this show would not take place. She does work for Rome Media and does all the post-production on everything. So we appreciate Anna for taking time out and doing this. But join us September 25th as the Lions take on the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay at the 906 Sports Bar. It is a live watch party. We will be giving away at least a Green Bay Packer jersey and some gifts from Upper Michigan Source. I guess you could say Fox UP, TV6, whatever. But we are going to be giving away some gift baskets for that as well. That's September 25th at the 906 Sports Bar. Please follow me on Twitter. Let me know if you're going. It's Real Casey Ford. Also, you can find me on Facebook. It's just Casey Ford, CASEYFORD. Also, if you want to come down and talk about the Detroit Lions and Tennessee Titans, come see me Monday morning. I'll be glad to talk to you about this at Fox Motors, Fox in Negaunee. I'd love to talk about the Detroit Lions and Tennessee game along with the Green Bay Packers as they take on the Minnesota Vikings. And last week was beautiful because coming to work on Monday, everyone was happy. The Wolverines won, the Lions won, the Packers won. Everyone was in a great mood. So join us Monday morning if you would like at Fox Negaunee, and we'd love to talk about the games and maybe even potentially get you in a new Dodge or GM or even a new Ford if you want to go that route. But come see me at Fox Negaunee. You can always find me on Twitter, once again, Real Casey Ford, as I'm interactive during the games. And you can find me on Facebook at just search Casey Ford. Once again, I'd like to thank the 906 Sports Bar, Fox Negaunee, and Big Boy. Now go get yourself a breakfast buffet before the Lions kick off against Tennessee. Thank you for watching the UP pregame show.